What if the most dangerous person in the galaxy was hiding in plain sight, mopping floors and emptying trash bins? What if every alien species that looked down on humanity was about to discover their greatest mistake was ignoring the quiet woman who cleaned their ships? Sometimes the most powerful secrets are kept by those society deems invisible. Sometimes the janitor knows more than the admiral. And, sometimes, when the galaxy is about to burn, the only hope comes from someone everyone forgot was even there. This is the story of Maya Chen, a human custodian aboard the Galactic Federation's flagship. For 3 years, she swept corridors while alien officers discussed humanity's primitive nature right in front of her. For 3 years, she nodded politely while they debated whether humans deserved basic rights. For 3 years, she stayed silent. But silence doesn't mean submission. And some files, once opened, can never be closed again. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you ignore humanity's most dangerous weapon, a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. Maya Chen pushed her cleaning cart down the pristine corridors of the GSF Harmony, the flagship of the Galactic Security Federation. The soft hum of the artificial gravity generators mixed with the distant chatter of alien voices discussing matters far above her supposed station. To the crew members who passed her, she was invisible, just another human performing menial labor, exactly where they believed her species belonged. The morning started like any other. Maya arrived at her designated storage closet at 0600 ship time, collected her supplies, and began her rounds through the command sectors. Her first stop was always the officers' lounge, where the night shift's empty cups and scattered data tablets told stories of late-night strategic meetings she was never meant to overhear. As she wiped down tables, 3 Vorthack officers entered, their chittering voices carrying the casual arrogance she had grown accustomed to over her 3 years aboard the ship. The Vorthack looked like massive praying mantises, their compound eyes never quite focusing on anything human-sized unless absolutely necessary. The Earth delegation arrives tomorrow, clicked Commander Zethkar, his mandibles making wet sounds as he spoke Standard Galactic. Another pointless display of their primitive diplomatic attempts. I still cannot fathom why the Council grants them any audience at all, replied his subordinate, a younger Vorthack whose green carapace bore fresh military markings. Their technology is centuries behind ours. Their military is laughable. Their culture lacks any sophistication. Maya continued cleaning, her movements steady and unremarkable. Years of practice had taught her to make herself part of the furniture, to blend into the background so completely that sensitive conversations happened around her as if she were not there at all. The humans serve a purpose, Zethkar said, settling into his chair with a sound like breaking branches. They remind the lesser species what happens when evolution fails to progress. Besides, their labor is adequate. The third officer, an older Vorthack with battle scars across his thorax, made a dismissive gesture. Admiral Krixtal believes they might have some hidden potential. I find this notion absurd. We have studied their species for decades. No hidden capabilities. No secret technologies. They are exactly what they appear to be, a worker species that somehow stumbled into space travel. Maya paused in her cleaning for just a fraction of a second before continuing. Admiral Krixtal was the ship's commanding officer, a member of the Zentorian Empire known for his strategic brilliance and his particular distaste for humanity. If he suspected humans had hidden potential, it meant something had changed in the intelligence reports. Perhaps their delegation will finally accept their proper place in the galactic hierarchy, the young officer suggested. Formal recognition as a servant species would end these tedious diplomatic pretenses. The conversation continued for another 20 minutes, covering trade routes, military deployments, and casual speculation about which human colonies might be most suitable for agricultural conversion. Maya absorbed every word while maintaining her invisible status, filing away details that painted a picture of humanity's precarious position in galactic politics. When the officers finally left, Maya finished cleaning the lounge and moved on to her next assignment, the data analysis section. This area required special clearance, which she had been granted only because the previous human janitor had been deemed satisfactory in his discretion. The irony was that the aliens' inability to distinguish between individual humans had worked in Maya's favor. They had simply transferred his clearance to her without additional scrutiny. The data analysis section buzzed with activity even in the early morning hours. Zentorian technicians, tall and pale with elongated skulls, worked at stations displaying complex tactical readouts. Their species had evolved on a high-gravity world, giving them dense bone structure and efficient metabolisms, but their most valued trait was their analytical capability. As Maya emptied waste receptacles and dusted terminals, she overheard fragments of conversations about troop movements, supply chain vulnerabilities, and something called Operation Silence Fall. The name appeared multiple times in various contexts, always spoken in the hushed tones reserved for classified material. "The preliminary scans of the Sol system are complete," reported a technician to his supervisor. "No hidden installations detected. No evidence of advanced defensive capabilities beyond what we already catalogued. And the psychological profiles of their leadership? Predictably naive. They still believe in negotiated solutions and mutual benefit arrangements. The delegation tomorrow will likely offer trade concessions and resource sharing agreements." Maya's hands never paused in their work, but her mind raced. A complete scan of the Sol system suggested something far more aggressive than routine intelligence gathering. Combined with the operation name and the psychological profiling, it painted a picture of preparation for something beyond diplomatic pressure. Her next stop took her to the communications hub, where overnight message traffic from across the galaxy was processed and distributed. This area was typically empty during day shift transitions, making it an ideal location for Maya to accomplish her secondary objectives. Moving with practiced efficiency, she accessed a maintenance terminal that most security protocols overlooked. The system was designed for basic environmental controls and cleaning schedule coordination, but Maya had discovered that its background access to ship-wide data networks was far more extensive than anyone realized. Her fingers moved across the interface with the muscle memory born of months of careful practice. To any casual observer, she was running standard diagnostics on cleaning equipment. In reality, she was copying message headers, duty rosters, and whatever classified material happened to be poorly secured. The intelligence she gathered painted an increasingly disturbing picture. References to human colonies, resource extraction, and compliance enforcement appeared with growing frequency. Most alarming was a message from Admiral Crixtal to High Command requesting final authorization for territorial consolidation protocols regarding the Sol system and associated human settlements. Maya completed her data collection and continued with her assigned duties, but her mind was already working through implications and possibilities. The morning's intelligence gathering had revealed something she had suspected for months. Humanity was not simply being marginalized or condescended to, they were being systematically prepared for something much worse. Her rounds took her through crew quarters, where off-duty personnel from a dozen different species discussed everything from family news to military gossip. The casual conversations often revealed more than formal reports, and Maya had learned to piece together significant intelligence from seemingly random comments. In the Draconian quarters, massive reptilian beings discussed supply requisitions that included population management equipment and biological processing units. The Draconians were known for their direct approach to conquest. They preferred absorption to extinction, but only when subject species proved economically viable. The Etherian quarters buzzed with telepathic static that made Maya's teeth ache. The Etherians were energy beings who required specialized containment suits to interact with physical matter. Their conversations were impossible to overhear directly, but their emotional emanations often revealed their intentions. Today, those emanations carried anticipation mixed with something that felt disturbingly like hunger. By midday, Maya had compiled a comprehensive picture of what appeared to be massive military preparation disguised as routine operations. Supply requests, personnel movements, and communication patterns all pointed to an operation far larger than anything the Galactic Security Federation had undertaken in decades. During her lunch break, Maya sat alone in the human workers' rest area, a cramped space allocated to the dozen humans aboard the ship. The others, mechanics, food service workers, and general laborers, chatted about their families back on Earth, their hopes for advancement, and their gratitude for being selected to serve aboard the Federation flagship. Maya listened to their optimism and felt a growing weight of responsibility. These people, like the billions of humans across dozens of colonies, had no idea that their continued existence was being discussed in terms of economic utility and resource management. They believed in the diplomatic process, in gradual acceptance, in proving human worth through hard work and dedication. She excused herself early and returned to her duties, this time focusing on areas she rarely accessed. Using her maintenance credentials, she gained entry to storage sections that contain supplies for special operations. The inventory lists made for chilling reading, restraint systems rated for human physiology, translation equipment designed for compliance communication, and medical supplies specifically formulated for human biochemistry but labeled for subject preparation. The evidence was overwhelming, but Maya knew that simply reporting it through normal channels would accomplish nothing. The human diplomatic corps was already compromised, their communications monitored, their movements tracked. Even if she could reach them, they would likely dismiss her intelligence as misinterpretation or paranoia. As afternoon shifted toward evening, Maya completed her regular rounds while formulating a plan that would have terrified her just hours earlier. The intelligence she had gathered demanded action, but the kind of action she was contemplating would end her invisibility forever. Her final stop of the day was the most dangerous, Admiral Crickstell's personal quarters. Cleaning these rooms required special authorization and was typically done under escort, but Maya had carefully cultivated a reputation for efficiency and discretion that had gradually relaxed security protocols around her presence. The Admiral's quarters were a study in Zentorian aesthetics, stark, efficient, with displays showing tactical information and personal communications. Maya worked quickly and carefully, using her maintenance access to download everything she could reach while maintaining the appearance of routine cleaning. What she discovered in Admiral Crickstell's personal files changed everything she thought she knew about humanity's situation. Hidden among routine correspondence was a folder labeled Species Assessment, Human Anomaly Project. The files contained detailed analyses of human behavior, psychology, and potential that painted a picture entirely different from the public dismissal of human capabilities. According to the classified assessments, humanity exhibited several traits that were considered extremely dangerous by Galactic Federation standards. Their rapid technological advancement, their unpredictable creative thinking, and their tendency toward what the reports called asymmetric problem solving had been flagged as potential threats to galactic stability. Most shocking was a psychological profile that described humans as potentially the most dangerous species encountered to date due to their combination of intelligence, adaptability, and what the analysts termed catastrophic persistence, the human tendency to continue fighting long after rational calculation would suggest surrender. The files revealed that humanity's apparent position as a servant species was carefully orchestrated. Their colonies had been infiltrated, their communications monitored, their technological developments subtly guided to prevent them from realizing their actual potential. The entire diplomatic process was an elaborate containment operation designed to keep humans compliant while the Federation decided how to handle the human problem permanently. Maya finished her work in the Admiral's quarters and returned her equipment to storage, her mind reeling from the implications of what she had discovered. She had spent 3 years believing she was gathering intelligence on humanity's oppressors, only to learn that she herself was the very thing they feared most, a human who had been underestimated. As she prepared to leave for the day, Maya made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Tomorrow, the human delegation would arrive for what they believed were routine diplomatic talks. They would be walking into a trap designed to formalize humanity's subjugation or elimination. But tonight, Maya Chen would stop being invisible. Tonight, the janitor would become something the galaxy had never seen before, a human with nothing left to lose and access to everything the enemy thought they had hidden. The cleaning cart sat abandoned in the storage closet as Maya began her real work. She had 48 hours before Operation Silence Fall commenced. 48 hours to prove that the Federation's greatest mistake was believing that humans could be contained. 48 hours to show them what humanity was truly capable of when backed into a corner. The night shift aboard the GSF Harmony operated with minimal crew, making it the perfect time for activities that required discretion. Maya had spent months learning the patterns of security rotations, identifying blind spots in surveillance coverage, and establishing routines that would mask her true intentions. Tonight, all that preparation would be put to the ultimate test. She began in her quarters, a small space she shared with another human worker who was currently on rotation planetside. From beneath her bunk, Maya retrieved a toolkit that appeared to be standard maintenance equipment but contained sophisticated electronics hidden within modified components. Over the past year, she had gradually assembled what amounted to a complete intelligence and sabotage kit using materials that individually appeared harmless. The first phase of her operation required accessing the ship's central computer core, a heavily secured area that she had only been able to reconnaissance through careful observation during her cleaning duties. The core was protected by multiple layers of security, but Maya had identified a vulnerability that the designers had never anticipated. The maintenance access for environmental systems ran directly adjacent to the computing infrastructure. Moving through the corridors with her usual invisible confidence, Maya accessed a service tunnel that connected to the ship's life support systems. The tunnel was cramped and uncomfortable, designed for emergency repairs rather than human transit, but it provided a route that bypassed most security checkpoints. The environmental controls for the computer core required constant monitoring due to the sensitive nature of the quantum processing units. Maya's maintenance credentials granted her legitimate access to these systems, allowing her to enter the restricted area without triggering alarms. Once inside, however, her activities became decidedly illegitimate. The central computer core hummed with the processing power of an entire civilization. Banks of quantum processors handled everything from navigation to communications to the complex calculations required for faster-than-light travel. Maya approached the main access terminal with steady hands, connecting her modified toolkit to what appeared to be a routine diagnostic port. Her first objective was to confirm the intelligence she had gathered about Operation Silence Fall. Direct access to the command systems revealed the operation's full scope, and the reality was far worse than she had imagined. Operation Silence Fall was not simply a plan to subjugate humanity, it was a carefully orchestrated genocide disguised as administrative reorganization. The operation would begin during the diplomatic meeting tomorrow. While human delegates discussed trade agreements and cultural exchange programs, Federation forces would simultaneously move against every human colony in known space. The attacks would be swift and devastating, designed to eliminate human military capability before any effective resistance could be organized. But the true horror lay in the operation's secondary objectives. Humanity would not be completely exterminated. Instead, the surviving population would be relocated to designated worlds where they would serve as a controlled labor force. Children would be separated from parents and raised in Federation facilities designed to eliminate human cultural identity and creative thinking. Within a generation, humanity would exist only as a biological resource. Maya copied every detail of the operation, from troop movements to communication protocols to the psychological manipulation strategies designed to ensure human compliance. The files revealed that similar operations had been conducted against 17 other species over the past 2 centuries. In each case, the galaxy had been told that the species had voluntarily accepted integration into the Federation's economic system. The second phase of Maya's operation required her to access the ship's weapons systems, a task that would test every skill she had developed over 3 years of careful observation and preparation. The Harmony was not just a diplomatic vessel, it was a fully armed battlecruiser capable of reducing planets to debris. More importantly for Maya's purposes, it carried enough firepower to cripple the entire Federation fleet currently massing for Operation Silence Fall. The weapons control systems were protected by biometric scanners, quantum encryption, and AI monitoring systems that were supposed to make unauthorized access impossible. However, Maya had discovered that the ship's designers had made the same critical error that plagued most advanced civilizations. They had prioritized protection against external threats while assuming internal security was guaranteed by social compliance. Using access codes she had painstakingly reconstructed from fragments observed during her cleaning duties, Maya penetrated the outer layers of the weapons control system. The process required her to defeat multiple security protocols while maintaining the appearance of routine maintenance activity. Each step forward brought the risk of triggering alarms that would end her mission and, probably her life. The weapons control center itself was a marvel of military engineering. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the Federation fleet, tactical assessments of their capabilities, and targeting solutions for dozens of potential scenarios. Maya connected her toolkit to the central control node and began uploading a virus she had spent months developing. The virus was designed to appear as a routine software update while actually providing Maya with complete control over the ship's weapons systems. More importantly, it would remain dormant until activated by a specific signal, allowing her to maintain the element of surprise until the critical moment. As she worked, Maya became aware of footsteps in the corridor outside. Her heart rate increased, but her hands remained steady as she completed the upload and carefully erased any trace of her presence. The virus was now embedded in the system, invisible to standard security scans but ready to activate when she needed it. The footsteps passed without pause, and Maya allowed herself a moment of relief before moving to the third phase of her operation. She needed to establish communication with Earth and the human colonies, but doing so without alerting Federation monitoring systems would require considerable ingenuity. The ship's communication array was designed to handle interstellar communication across multiple dimensional layers, but it was also heavily monitored to prevent unauthorized transmissions. Maya had identified a solution during her months of observation. The array's quantum entanglement protocols included an error correction system that could be manipulated to carry additional data. Working from a maintenance panel that provided access to the communication array's calibration systems, Maya inserted a modified quantum resonance pattern that would piggyback her message onto routine communication traffic. The message would be buried in the background noise of normal interstellar communication, invisible to automated monitoring but detectable by anyone who knew what to look for. The message itself was encoded using a technique that Maya had developed based on her analysis of human behavioral patterns that confused alien observers. The code used references to Earth literature, historical events, and cultural concepts that would be meaningless to non-humans but would clearly communicate the threat to any human intelligence analyst. Her message contained everything: the full details of Operation Silence Fall, the location and capabilities of Federation forces, the psychological manipulation strategies being employed, and, most importantly, proof that humanity's position as a servant species was a carefully maintained illusion designed to prevent them from realizing their actual potential. Maya transmitted the message to 3 different destinations: Earth's military command, the Human Colonial Coordination Council, and a private research facility that she suspected was more than it appeared to be. Each transmission was sent using a different method to ensure that at least one would reach its destination despite Federation monitoring efforts. The fourth phase of her operation was the most dangerous. She needed to sabotage the ship's faster-than-light communication system to prevent the Federation from coordinating their attack when Operation Silence Fall began. This would buy precious time for human forces to prepare, but it would also trap Maya aboard the ship with no possibility of escape. The FTL communication system was protected by the highest level of security aboard the ship, but Maya had discovered that its quantum processing units required constant calibration that was performed through automated maintenance protocols. By introducing subtle errors into the calibration process, she could cause system failures that would appear to be random technical problems rather than sabotage. Working with meticulous precision, Maya inserted corrupted calibration data into the system's automated maintenance routines. The errors were designed to cascade through the quantum processing network, creating failures that would be extremely difficult to diagnose and repair. When Operation Silence Fall commenced, Admiral Krixtal would find himself unable to coordinate with his forces across the galaxy. The final phase of Maya's operation required her to access Admiral Krixtal's personal command protocols. As the ship's commanding officer, he possessed override codes that could be used to take control of any Federation vessel within communication range. If Maya could obtain these codes, she would have the ability to turn the Federation fleet against itself. The Admiral's command chamber was protected by security systems that Maya had never been able to approach during her normal duties. However, her new access to the ship's central computer allowed her to disable specific security protocols while creating false system logs that would hide her intrusion. The command chamber itself was a testament to Zentorian military efficiency. Banks of holographic displays showed real-time tactical information from across the galaxy, while the central command chair was connected to quantum processing units that could coordinate military operations on an interstellar scale. Maya approached the Admiral's personal access terminal and connected her toolkit, using the administrative access she had gained from the central computer to penetrate his personal security protocols. The process was complicated by the fact that Zentorian security systems were designed around neurological patterns that differed significantly from human brain activity. After 20 minutes of careful work, Maya successfully accessed the Admiral's command codes and copied them to her toolkit. She now possessed the authorization codes for the entire Federation fleet, granting her the ability to issue orders that would be automatically obeyed by any Federation vessel. As she prepared to leave the command chamber, Maya made a discovery that changed her understanding of the entire situation. Hidden within the Admiral's personal files was a communication from Federation High Command that revealed the true scope of their concern about humanity. According to the classified communication, recent intelligence had identified specific humans who displayed capabilities that existing xenopsychological models could not explain. These individuals demonstrated problem-solving abilities, technological intuition, and strategic thinking that exceeded anything previously encountered. Most disturbing from the Federation perspective was evidence that these capabilities were spreading through the human population at an accelerating rate. The communication specifically mentioned Subject 7743, described as a human intelligence asset operating aboard GSF Harmony with Level 7 clearance. The subject was noted for exceptional data synthesis capabilities and unprecedented operational security. The file included a recommendation for immediate extraction and detailed analysis. Maya realized with growing horror that Subject 7743 was herself. The Federation knew about her intelligence-gathering activities and had been monitoring her all along. Her invisibility had been an illusion. She was being studied as an example of emerging human capabilities. But the file also revealed something the Federation had not anticipated. Their observation of Maya had prevented them from understanding the true extent of human potential. By focusing on her individual capabilities, they had failed to recognize that what they saw in her existed within every human being, waiting to be awakened by the right circumstances. Maya left the command chamber with this knowledge burning in her mind. She was not just fighting to save humanity from genocide, she was fighting to prevent the galaxy from discovering what humans were truly capable of. The Federation's fear was justified, but their solution was unacceptable. Returning to her quarters as the night shift ended, Maya reviewed everything she had accomplished. She had gained control of the ship's weapons systems, sabotaged its communication capabilities, transmitted critical intelligence to human forces, and obtained the command codes for the entire Federation fleet. In a single night, she had transformed from an invisible janitor into the most dangerous person aboard the ship. But her work was far from over. Tomorrow, the human delegation would arrive for what they believed were routine diplomatic talks. Maya would need to coordinate their protection while simultaneously launching an attack that would shatter the Federation's plans and reveal to the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into servitude. As she lay on her bunk, staring at the ceiling of her cramped quarters, Maya reflected on the irony of her situation. The Federation had spent years studying her as an example of human potential, never realizing that their greatest mistake was giving her the access and time she needed to become exactly what they feared most. Tomorrow would bring the end of humanity's invisibility. Tomorrow, the galaxy would discover that the greatest threat to their established order was not some unknown alien species or cosmic disaster, it was the quiet determination of humans who refused to accept that their fate was determined by others. Tomorrow, Maya Chen would stop hiding and show the galaxy what happened when humanity decided to fight back. The morning of the diplomatic meeting arrived with all the ceremony and pageantry that the Galactic Security Federation reserved for significant occasions. Maya watched from her assigned position in the docking bay as the human delegation's transport approached the GSF Harmony, its sleek design dwarfed by the massive Federation battlecruiser that would serve as both meeting venue and potential tomb. Ambassador Sarah Martinez led the human delegation, her confident stride and professional demeanor marking her as someone accustomed to high-stakes negotiations. Maya had studied the ambassador's file extensively and knew her to be an accomplished diplomat who genuinely believed in the possibility of peaceful coexistence between humanity and the galaxy's established powers. Behind Martinez came a team of 12 specialists, trade negotiators, cultural attaches, military advisors, and technical experts. Each had been carefully selected for their ability to present humanity in the most favorable light possible. None of them suspected that their mission was designed to fail, that their very presence aboard the Harmony was part of an elaborate trap. As the delegation disembarked, Maya continued her assigned duties while observing the Federation's reception preparations. Admiral Crixtal himself had come to greet the humans, flanked by representatives from the 6 major species that comprised the Federation's ruling council. The display of diplomatic courtesy was flawless, exactly what would be expected for routine negotiations between civilized entities. Maya watched Ambassador Martinez shake hands with Admiral Crixtal, noting the forced smile that the Zentorian commander maintained while his compound eyes tracked every human movement with predatory focus. The ambassador's security detail, 3 experienced military officers in dress uniform, positioned themselves with professional precision, unaware that their weapons had been secretly disabled during the boarding process. Welcome aboard the Harmony, Ambassador Martinez, Admiral Crixtal said, his artificially enhanced voice carrying perfect standard galactic pronunciation. The Federation looks forward to productive discussions regarding humanity's continued integration into galactic society. Maya felt a chill at the word integration, knowing as she did the true meaning behind the Admiral's diplomatic language. Integration, in Federation terms, meant the systematic destruction of human independence and identity, disguised as voluntary cooperation. The delegation was escorted to their quarters in what was ostensibly the ship's diplomatic section but was actually a carefully designed containment area. Maya had discovered during her reconnaissance that the diplomatic quarters were equipped with monitoring systems far more sophisticated than anything used elsewhere on the ship. Every word, gesture, and biological function would be recorded and analyzed. As the humans settled into their accommodations, Maya began implementing the next phase of her operation. Using her maintenance access, she moved through the ship's service corridors to reach the diplomatic section, where she would begin the delicate process of making contact with the delegation without alerting Federation surveillance systems. The challenge was enormous. The diplomatic quarters were monitored by multiple layers of security, from quantum field detectors that could identify unauthorized electronics to behavioral analysis algorithms that flagged unusual social interactions. Maya would need to establish communication using methods so subtle that they would escape detection by systems designed to catch the most sophisticated espionage attempts. Her opportunity came during the pre-negotiation reception, a formal gathering designed to allow both sides to establish rapport before serious discussions began. Maya was assigned to serve refreshments, a role that would place her directly in contact with the human delegation while maintaining her invisible status. The reception was held in the Harmony's main diplomatic hall, a spectacular chamber with transparent aluminum walls that provided a stunning view of the galaxy beyond. Representatives from dozens of Federation species mingled with the human delegation, engaging in the careful dance of diplomatic small talk that preceded serious negotiations. Maya moved through the gathering with practiced invisibility, serving drinks and clearing plates while listening to conversations that revealed the Federation's strategy. The alien representatives were following a carefully scripted approach designed to make the humans feel important and valued while gradually steering them toward accepting increasingly restrictive agreements. "Your species has made remarkable progress in such a short time," a draconian ambassador told one of the human trade negotiators. "With proper guidance, humanity could achieve economic stability that would last for millennia." Maya recognized the manipulation technique from her analysis of Federation psychological warfare protocols. The Draconians were masters of making subjugation sound like opportunity, conquest seem like partnership. The human negotiator smiled and nodded, clearly pleased by what he perceived as recognition of human achievements. As Maya approached Ambassador Martinez with a tray of refreshments, she made her move. The communication technique she had developed relied on a combination of micro-expressions, subtle hand movements, and strategic positioning that would be invisible to automated surveillance systems while conveying critical information to a trained observer. Maya positioned herself slightly to Martinez's left while offering the tray, using her body language to signal distress while making eye contact for exactly 2.3 seconds, long enough to convey urgency but short enough to avoid triggering behavioral analysis algorithms. Her facial expression combined professional deference with subtle fear, a combination that would read as normal servant anxiety to alien observers but would register as a warning signal to any human trained in intelligence work. Ambassador Martinez paused for a fraction of a second, her diplomatic training allowing her to recognize that something unusual was happening without alerting those around her. She selected a drink from Maya's tray while maintaining perfect conversational flow with her alien hosts, but Maya caught the subtle nod that indicated the message had been received. The next phase of communication required more sophisticated methods. Maya had prepared a series of seemingly random service activities that would spell out a message when observed by someone who understood the pattern. Over the course of the reception, she arranged glasses in specific configurations, cleaned certain areas in particular sequences, and positioned decorative elements according to a code she had developed. The message was simple but critical, all monitored. Trap. Trust no one. Find me maintenance level 7, section C, 0300. Ambassador Martinez proved her experience by showing no signs of recognition while gradually positioning herself to observe Maya's activities. The ambassador's own intelligence training allowed her to decode the pattern and understand both the warning and the proposed meeting arrangement. As the reception continued, Maya gathered additional intelligence from conversations throughout the hall. The Federation representatives were discussing topics that no diplomatic gathering should include: population distribution algorithms, resource extraction quotas, and compliance enforcement strategies. The humans, focused on trade agreements and cultural exchange programs, remained oblivious to the true nature of the discussions happening around them. Admiral Crixtal himself approached Ambassador Martinez as the evening progressed, engaging her in conversation that seemed friendly on the surface but carried undertones that made Maya's blood run cold. "Your species fascinates us, Ambassador," the Admiral said, his artificial voice modulation unable to completely hide his predatory satisfaction. "Humans demonstrate such adaptability, such willingness to work within established systems. These qualities will serve you well in your future relationship with the Federation. We're grateful for the opportunity to find our place in galactic society," Martinez replied, maintaining diplomatic composure despite what Maya suspected was growing unease. "Humanity has always believed in cooperation and mutual benefit." "Indeed," Crixtal agreed, his mandibles moving in what might have been a smile. "Tomorrow we will discuss exactly what form that cooperation will take. I believe you will find our proposals quite comprehensive." Maya finished her duties and withdrew from the reception, her mind racing with the implications of what she had observed. The Federation's confidence was absolute. They clearly believed that humanity's fate was already sealed, that the diplomatic process was merely a formality before implementing Operation Silence Fall. The hours between the reception and her planned meeting with Ambassador Martinez passed slowly. Maya used the time to make final preparations for what would either be humanity's salvation or her own death. She verified that her virus remained undetected in the weapons control system, confirmed that her sabotage of the communication array was proceeding as planned, and prepared the evidence she would need to convince the human delegation of the danger they faced. At 0300 ship time, Maya made her way to Maintenance Level 7, Section C, a service area deep in the ship's infrastructure that was rarely visited during normal operations. The location was chosen for its isolation from surveillance networks and its proximity to emergency communication systems that Maya could use if necessary. Ambassador Martinez arrived precisely on time, moving through the ship's corridors with the confidence of someone who belonged wherever they chose to go. She had changed from her diplomatic attire into practical clothes that suggested she was prepared for whatever Maya might propose. "You're taking an enormous risk meeting with me," Maya said without preamble, keeping her voice low despite the area's isolation. "But the alternative is worse than you can possibly imagine. I've been in enough hostile negotiations to recognize when something is fundamentally wrong," Martinez replied, her diplomatic training evident in her calm assessment of the situation. "Your warning was received and understood. What can you tell me that I need to know?" Maya activated a portable signal jammer that would prevent their conversation from being monitored, then began outlining everything she had discovered about Operation Silence Fall. She showed Martinez the classified files detailing the planned genocide, the psychological manipulation strategies designed to ensure human compliance, and the evidence that humanity's apparent inferiority was a carefully constructed illusion. "This is impossible," Martinez said after reviewing the evidence, but her voice carried the conviction of someone who recognized truth despite its horrific implications. "The Federation wouldn't undertake something this massive, this orchestrated. The political ramifications alone." "There are no political ramifications when there's no one left to object," Maya interrupted. 17 other species have vanished over the past 2 centuries, Ambassador. The galaxy was told they chose integration. The reality is that they were eliminated as threats to Federation hegemony. Martinez studied the files more carefully, her diplomatic experience allowing her to recognize the authentic markers of legitimate intelligence reports. Her face grew increasingly pale as she absorbed the scope of what had been planned. "Even if this is accurate, what can we do?" Martinez asked. "My delegation consists of diplomats and trade negotiators, not military specialists. We have no weapons, no communications with Earth, and no way to leave this ship without Federation permission." "We have something they don't expect," Maya replied, producing the command codes she had stolen from Admiral Crixtal. "I've spent 3 years gathering intelligence and preparing for exactly this scenario. We're not helpless victims, Ambassador. We're about to become their worst nightmare." Maya outlined her plan in detail, how she would use the stolen command codes to take control of Federation vessels, how her sabotage of the communication system would prevent coordination of the attack on human colonies, and how the evidence she had transmitted to Earth would allow human forces to prepare defensive measures. "You're talking about starting a war," Martinez said, her diplomatic instincts rebelling against the concept. "Even if we could disable their attack, the retaliation would be devastating. Humanity isn't ready for conflict on this scale." "Humanity is more ready than you know," Maya replied, showing Martinez the classified assessments of human capabilities that she had discovered in Admiral Krickstahl's files. "The Federation fears us because we represent everything they can't control: creativity, adaptability, and the refusal to accept defeat. Tomorrow, we're going to prove that their fear is justified." Ambassador Martinez spent several minutes studying the evidence, her analytical mind working through possibilities and implications. When she finally looked up, her expression had changed from diplomatic caution to grim determination. "What do you need from me?" she asked. Maya smiled for the first time in days. "I need you to be exactly what they think you are, naive human diplomats who believe in negotiated solutions. Keep them focused on the formal negotiations while I implement the real plan. When the time comes, I'll signal you to get your people to safety. And then? Then, we show the galaxy what happens when you back humanity into a corner," Maya said. They wanted to study human potential under controlled conditions. Tomorrow, they're going to experience it firsthand. The two women spent another hour coordinating their plans, establishing communication protocols and contingency procedures for various scenarios. When Ambassador Martinez finally returned to her quarters, she carried with her the knowledge that humanity's survival depended on the success of a plan that would have been considered impossible just days earlier. Maya remained in the maintenance area for several more minutes, reviewing her preparations and steeling herself for what was to come. Tomorrow would bring the moment of truth, when 3 years of careful planning and patient intelligence gathering would either save humanity or result in her death. As she made her way back to her quarters, Maya reflected on the irony of her situation. The Federation had brought her aboard their flagship as an example of human servitude, never realizing they were placing their greatest threat at the very heart of their military power. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or numbers or even courage, it was the simple refusal to accept that any problem was unsolvable, any enemy unbeatable, or any situation hopeless. Tomorrow, the Invisible Woman would become humanity's avenging angel. The formal negotiation session began at 0800 ship time in the Harmony's Grand Conference Chamber, a circular room designed to project Federation power through architectural magnificence. Holographic displays showed star charts and trade routes, while sophisticated translation systems ensured perfect communication between the dozens of species represented around the massive conference table. Ambassador Martinez took her seat with the human delegation, maintaining perfect diplomatic composure despite knowing that she was participating in what was designed to be humanity's funeral. Around the table sat representatives from every major Federation species, their alien features unified by expressions of barely concealed condescension. Maya positioned herself in the service area adjacent to the conference chamber, ostensibly managing refreshment service while actually monitoring multiple data streams through her concealed electronics. Her stolen access to the ship's systems allowed her to track communication traffic, weapons status, and the precise timing of Operation Silence Fall's implementation. Admiral Krickstahl opened the session with a speech that masterfully combined diplomatic courtesy with subtle threat. "Today marks a significant milestone in humanity's relationship with the galactic community," he announced, his artificial voice carrying across the chamber with perfect clarity. "The agreements we reach will define your species' role in our shared future." Maya watched the Admiral's compound eyes track each human face, cataloging reactions with predatory satisfaction. Through her access to the ship's internal communication system, she could see that Krickstahl was receiving real-time updates on Federation fleet positions throughout human space. Operation Silence Fall was proceeding exactly on schedule. The first phase of negotiations focused on trade agreements that seemed reasonable on the surface but contained clauses that would grant the Federation unprecedented access to human resources and industrial capacity. Maya recognized the strategy from her analysis of similar agreements imposed on conquered species. The Federation preferred economic subjugation to military occupation when possible. The proposed mining rights seem quite extensive, observed Dr. James Harrison, the delegation's chief economic advisor. These territories encompass some of our most valuable resource deposits. The Federation's technical expertise would maximize extraction efficiency while ensuring environmental protection, replied the draconian trade representative, his massive frame making the conference chair look like a child's toy. Your species lacks the sophisticated equipment necessary for optimal resource utilization. Ambassador Martinez maintained diplomatic protocol while subtly probing for information about Federation intentions. We appreciate the offer of technical assistance. Could you provide more details about the duration of these mining operations? Duration depends on numerous factors, Admiral Krixtal interjected smoothly. Resource depletion rates, efficiency improvements, changing galactic economic conditions. The Federation prefers flexible arrangements that can adapt to evolving circumstances. Maya recognized the non-answer as confirmation of what she already knew: the Federation had no intention of ever returning human resources or territory. The flexible arrangements would become permanent occupation the moment human resistance was eliminated. As the morning progressed, Maya monitored communication traffic between the Harmony and Federation forces throughout the galaxy. The reports painted a picture of military units moving into position around every human colony, supply ships carrying equipment for planetary occupation, and coordination centers preparing to implement population management protocols. At 1030 hours, Maya detected the signal she had been waiting for: Operation Silence Falls activation code. Across the galaxy, Federation forces were beginning their coordinated attack on humanity's scattered colonies and outposts. The genocide had begun. Maya activated her own virus through a maintenance terminal, sending the awakening code through the ship's quantum network. Within seconds, she had complete control of the Harmony's weapons systems, shields, and propulsion. The ship's AI continued to report normal function to the bridge crew while actually serving Maya's commands. The second phase of negotiations had begun with discussions of population redistribution that were couched in terms of providing humans with better living conditions and economic opportunities. Maya listened to the Federation representatives describe concentration camps as retirement communities and forced labor as vocational training while her anger built to levels that threatened her carefully maintained control. The proposed residential facilities sound impressive, Ambassador Martinez said, her diplomatic training allowing her to maintain conversational flow despite the horror of what she was hearing. Could we arrange site visits to see some of these installations? Regrettably, security protocols prevent civilian access to active facilities, replied the Etherian representative, their containment suit crackling with barely contained energy. However, we can provide extensive documentation of living conditions and quality of life metrics. Maya knew that the documentation would show fabricated evidence of humane treatment while the reality involved systematic cultural destruction and biological exploitation. Through her access to classified files, she had seen the actual conditions in facilities housing the 17 species that had preceded humanity into Federation integration. At 1145 hours, Maya received confirmation that her sabotage of the ship's faster-than-light communication system was working perfectly. Admiral Krixtal's attempts to coordinate with his forces were being blocked by cascading quantum failures that appeared to be random technical problems. The Federation attack was proceeding without central command, relying on predetermined protocols that Maya's intelligence transmission to Earth had already compromised. The third phase of negotiations introduced cultural exchange programs that were actually plans for systematically removing human children from their families and indoctrinating them in Federation ideology. Maya watched Ambassador Martinez's face carefully as she processed information about educational facilities designed to eliminate human creativity and independent thinking. These programs seem quite comprehensive, Martinez observed, her voice showing the strain of maintaining diplomatic courtesy while discussing the destruction of human childhood. What age groups would be involved in these exchanges? Our xenopsychological experts recommend beginning the process as early as possible, Admiral Krixtal explained, consulting a datapad with casual indifference to the horror he was describing. Younger subjects adapt more readily to multicultural environments and develop stronger loyalty to Federation values. Maya's monitoring equipment detected increasing stress indicators from the human delegation as they absorbed the true implications of what was being proposed. Their biometric readings showed elevated heart rates, increased cortisol production, and other markers of extreme psychological pressure. The Federation representatives were clearly enjoying the humans' distress. At 1,200 hours, Maya implemented the next phase of her operation. Using her stolen command codes, she began taking control of Federation vessels throughout the local sector. The process required careful timing to avoid triggering automated security responses, but her analysis of Federation protocols had identified the precise sequence needed to override their security systems. The first ship she captured was the GSF Retribution, a heavy cruiser positioned to block any escape from the Harmony. Maya's command codes granted her administrative access to the ship's systems, allowing her to disable its weapons and propulsion while leaving life support intact. The crew would be alive but helpless, exactly as Maya intended. The fourth phase of negotiations revealed the Federation's ultimate intentions with chilling clarity. The discussion had moved beyond economic and cultural integration to what Admiral Krixtel termed biological optimization programs, systematic genetic modification designed to eliminate human traits that the Federation considered problematic. The proposed modifications would enhance human longevity and disease resistance, explained the Zentorian medical representative, displaying holographic models of human genetics with marked areas for alteration. Certain aggressive tendencies and creative impulses would be reduced to promote social stability. Maya felt her control slipping as she listened to aliens discuss the deliberate destruction of everything that made humanity unique. The Federation's plan was not simply conquest, it was the systematic elimination of human identity at the genetic level, creating a servant species that would be human in appearance but alien in thought and behavior. Ambassador Martinez finally allowed her diplomatic mask to slip slightly. These modifications seem quite extensive. Would they be voluntary? Voluntary compliance is always preferable, Admiral Krixtal replied with what might have been amusement. However, the Federation has a responsibility to ensure galactic stability. Individual preferences cannot override collective security requirements. At 1,230 hours, Maya detected the first reports of human resistance to the Federation attack. Her intelligence transmission to Earth had apparently been successful. Human forces were implementing defensive strategies that the Federation hadn't anticipated. Colonial militias were engaging Federation forces with tactics that exploited weaknesses Maya had identified in their military doctrines. The reports of effective human resistance clearly surprised the Federation representatives, who had expected their attack to encounter minimal opposition. Maya watched Admiral Krixtal receive increasingly urgent updates about unexpected human capabilities and coordinated defensive responses. "It appears your military forces are more capable than our initial assessments suggested," the Admiral commented to Ambassador Martinez, his tone carrying new undertones of concern. "This is unexpected. Humanity has always been resourceful when protecting our homes and families," Martinez replied with the first genuine smile she had shown during the negotiations. "Perhaps your assessments underestimated our motivations." Maya chose this moment to implement the final phase of her operation. Using her complete control of the Harmony systems, she activated the ship's internal security barriers, sealing the conference chamber and trapping the Federation representatives while leaving the human delegation with access to emergency escape routes she had prepared. The chamber's lights dimmed as Maya rerouted power to the weapons systems, and warning indicators began flashing as the ship's defensive stance shifted to full combat readiness. The Federation representatives found themselves locked in a room with humans they had underestimated and a ship that no longer obeyed their commands. "What is the meaning of this?" Admiral Krixtal demanded, his artificial voice crackling with electronic distortion as he attempted to access ship controls that no longer responded to his authority. Maya's voice echoed through the chamber's communication system, no longer disguised by 3 years of serval invisibility. "My name is Maya Chen, and for 3 years I have served as an intelligence operative aboard your flagship. I have gathered evidence of your planned genocide against humanity, sabotaged your military operations, and taken control of your most powerful weapons." The alien faces around the conference table showed expressions ranging from shock to disbelief to dawning horror as they realized that their perfect plan had been compromised by the very human they had dismissed as insignificant. "You are making a terrible mistake," Krixtal said, his predatory confidence replaced by something that might have been fear. "The Federation's response to this act of terrorism will be swift and absolute." "The Federation's response will be exactly what I choose it to be," Maya replied, displaying holographic evidence of her control over multiple Federation vessels. Your command codes were surprisingly easy to obtain once I gained access to your personal files, Admiral. Your entire fleet in this sector now serves human interests. Ambassador Martinez led the human delegation toward the emergency exits Maya had prepared, but paused at the chamber's threshold. You've given humanity a chance to survive, she told Maya through the communication system. What can we do to help? Return to Earth and prepare our people for what's coming, Maya replied. The Federation will recover from this setback and attempt new approaches to the human problem. But now they know that we're aware of their true intentions and capabilities. As the human delegation evacuated to their transport under the protection of Maya's controlled weapons systems, she began broadcasting evidence of Operation Silence Fall to every Federation vessel and civilian communication network she could access. The galaxy would know that humanity had been targeted for genocide and that the Federation's peaceful facade concealed a policy of systematic species elimination. The trapped Federation representatives found themselves in the unprecedented position of being helpless prisoners of a species they had considered inferior. Admiral Krickstahl's attempts to regain control of his ship met with failure after failure as Maya's virus adaptation proved immune to every countermeasure the sophisticated AI could devise. What do you want? The Admiral finally asked, his artificial voice carrying a note of desperation that Maya found deeply satisfying. I want you to understand that humanity will never again accept the role you tried to force upon us, Maya replied. I want you to return to your leaders with the knowledge that every species you consider weak or primitive might be hiding capabilities you never imagined. And I want you to explain how a single human janitor destroyed the most sophisticated military operation in galactic history. Maya began implementing her exit strategy, using the Harmony's weapons to escort the human transport to a safe distance before releasing her control of the ship's systems. She had accomplished everything she had planned and more, but she knew that her own survival was now impossible. The Federation would never allow her to live after the humiliation she had inflicted upon them. But, as Maya prepared for what she expected to be her final moments, she received a communication that changed everything. Maya-Chen, this is Captain Sarah Rodriguez of the UHSS Indomitable. You have friends incoming. Hold your position. Through the ship's external sensors, Maya watched as human vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel, their configurations unlike anything in the Federation database. The ships were clearly human in origin, but their technology was decades beyond anything the Federation had attributed to humanity. The Invisible Woman had revealed humanity's true nature to the galaxy, but the galaxy was about to discover that Maya-Chen was just the beginning of what humans were capable of when they stopped hiding their potential. The human fleet that materialized around the GSF Harmony was unlike anything the Federation had encountered in 2 centuries of galactic dominance. Sleek vessels with hull configurations that defied conventional understanding of space warfare moved with precision that suggested technology far beyond what Federation intelligence had attributed to humanity. Maya watched through the ship's external sensors as Admiral Krickstahl and his command staff struggled to comprehend what they were seeing. The Federation's entire understanding of human capabilities was crumbling in real time as sensors detected energy signatures and weapon systems that shouldn't exist according to their xenobiological assessments. This is Captain Sarah Rodriguez of the United Human Space Service vessel Indomitable, came the transmission that filled the Harmony's bridge with crisp authority. GSF Harmony, you are ordered to stand down all weapons and prepare for inspection. Any hostile action will be considered an act of war against humanity. Admiral Krickstahl's mandibles clattered with what Maya recognized as Zentorian panic responses. Impossible, he muttered, his artificial voice modulation failing to hide his distress. Human technology cannot support vessels of this sophistication. Our intelligence reports indicated primitive space travel capabilities at best. Maya allowed herself a smile as she maintained control of the Harmony's systems from her hidden position in the maintenance section. Your intelligence reports showed exactly what we wanted you to see, Admiral. Did you really think that a species capable of interstellar travel in 300 years wouldn't develop more sophisticated capabilities given sufficient motivation? Through her access to Federation communication networks, Maya monitored the increasingly frantic transmissions between Krickstahl and his scattered forces. Reports were arriving from across human space describing human defensive capabilities that made a mockery of Federation tactical assessments. Colonial militias were deploying weapons that shouldn't exist, using strategies that demonstrated coordination on a scale that Federation analysts had deemed impossible for human command structures. The truth was becoming undeniable: humanity had not been struggling to achieve spaceflight capability, they had been deliberately concealing technological advancement that matched or exceeded Federation standards. The serval species that cleaned alien ships and performed manual labor had been conducting the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. Captain Rodriguez's voice filled the Harmony's conference chamber where the Federation representatives remained trapped by Maya's security lockdown. Maya Chen, this is Captain Rodriguez. Outstanding work, Agent. You've exceeded every expectation we had for this operation. The word agent hit the Federation representatives like a physical blow. Maya was not some exceptional individual who had spontaneously developed intelligence capabilities, she was a trained operative working for a human intelligence service that the Federation had never suspected existed. Agent Chen, Admiral Crixtal said slowly, his voice carrying new understanding of the magnitude of his situation. You were placed aboard my ship deliberately. 3 years ago, Maya confirmed through the ship's communication system. Long before you finalized Operation Silence Fall. We've been watching you plan our extermination while preparing our response. Every detail of your operation has been known to human leadership for over a year. Maya began transmitting data to Captain Rodriguez's ship, downloading 3 years of accumulated intelligence about Federation military capabilities, political structures, and strategic weaknesses. The information would provide humanity with unprecedented insight into their enemy's true nature and capabilities. The scope of your deception is remarkable, admitted the draconian trade representative, his massive frame slumped in defeat. We studied your species for decades. How did we miss indicators of such sophisticated coordination? Because you studied us the same way you studied the 17 species you destroyed before us, Maya replied. You looked for what you expected to find: primitive beings who could be manipulated through superior technology and political pressure. You never considered that we might be looking back. The human fleet positioned itself around the Harmony with tactical precision that demonstrated coordination impossible according to Federation understanding of human command capabilities. Each ship took a position that maximized overlapping fields of fire while maintaining optimal spacing for mutual support, textbook space warfare doctrine that the Federation had never seen humans employ. Captain Rodriguez opened a direct communication channel with the trapped Federation representatives. Admiral Crixtal, I am authorized to negotiate the terms of your surrender and the immediate cessation of all Federation hostile actions against human territories and assets. Surrender? Crixtal's compound eyes focused on the communication pickup with what Maya recognized as genuine incomprehension. The Federation does not surrender to primitive species. You cannot have more than a few dozen ships. Our military forces number in the thousands across hundreds of systems. Your military forces are currently engaged with human defensive units that have been preparing for this conflict for over a decade, Rodriguez replied calmly. I suggest you contact your field commanders and assess the actual tactical situation before making assumptions about Federation superiority. Maya monitored Federation communication networks as Admiral Crixtal attempted to contact his forces across the galaxy. The reports that came back painted a picture of military disaster on a scale that challenged every assumption about human capabilities. Federation battlegroups were being systematically destroyed by human forces employing tactics and technology that seemed to anticipate every Federation strategy. Colonial militias that should have been helpless against professional military units were conducting coordinated operations that suggested command and control capabilities rivaling the Federation's own. Most devastating to Federation morale were reports of human ships appearing from faster-than-light travel in formations that indicated massive fleet deployments. The handful of human colonies that the Federation had planned to easily overwhelm were revealing defensive capabilities that included orbital fortifications, deep space monitoring networks, and military assets that had somehow remained hidden for decades. How many ships do you actually have? Admiral Crixtal asked, his artificial voice carrying a note that might have been desperation. More than you thought we had, Captain Rodriguez replied with satisfaction that carried clearly through the communication channel. The question is not how many ships we have, Admiral, but whether you want to find out through continued military action or through negotiated settlement. Maya watched as the Federation representatives absorbed the implications of their situation. Their perfect plan for human extermination had become a trap that revealed their own military weaknesses while demonstrating that humanity possessed capabilities that made them potentially the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Through the ship's external sensors, Maya observed as additional human vessels continued arriving in the area. Each new ship displayed technological sophistication that challenged Federation assumptions about human industrial capacity. The fleet was not just large, it was equipped with technology that suggested human research and development programs far more advanced than anything the Federation had suspected. "We demand to speak with your leadership," the Etherian representative transmitted, their containment suit crackling with agitation. This level of deception violates every principle of galactic civilization. There must be accountability for such systematic dishonesty. Captain Rodriguez's response carried a coldness that made Maya proud of her species. "You are discussing accountability with representatives of a species that you plan to systematically exterminate? I suggest you reconsider your moral authority in this situation." Maya began implementing the final phase of her operation, the complete exposure of Federation crimes against galactic civilization. Using her access to Admiral Crickstell's personal files and the ship's communication systems, she began broadcasting evidence of the 17 species that had been eliminated over the past 2 centuries. The transmissions included detailed documentation of genocide, cultural destruction, and systematic biological modification designed to create slave species. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable, supported by Federation's own internal communications and operational records. Across the galaxy, civilian populations that had believed in Federation benevolence were learning the truth about their government's approach to species that displayed potential for independence or technological advancement. The political ramifications would be devastating to Federation stability. "You have destabilized the entire galactic political structure," Admiral Crickstell accused, his voice carrying what Maya recognized as genuine fear. "The chaos resulting from these revelations could lead to system-wide war." "The chaos resulting from these revelations could lead to system-wide freedom," Maya corrected. The Federation's stability was built on lies and systematic oppression. "Perhaps it's time for the galaxy to try a different approach to interspecies relations." Captain Rodriguez began coordinating with the human delegation that had escaped the Harmony, arranging for their transfer to safety while maintaining tactical superiority over the Federation forces in the area. Ambassador Martinez's report would provide crucial intelligence about Federation diplomatic strategies and political weaknesses. Maya monitored communication traffic as word of the human military response spread throughout Federation territory. Reports were arriving of human diplomatic missions to other species, offering military alliance against Federation oppression and sharing technology that would enable previously subjugated civilizations to defend themselves. The Federation's greatest fear was becoming reality. Humanity was not content to secure their own freedom but was actively working to destabilize the entire system of galactic oppression that had maintained Federation dominance for centuries. "What are your terms?" Admiral Crickstell finally asked, his artificial voice carrying the defeat of someone who had realized the complete failure of everything he had worked toward. "Complete Federation withdrawal from all human territories," Captain Rodriguez replied without hesitation. "Full recognition of human sovereignty and territorial integrity. Reparations for attempted genocide. And accountability for the crimes committed against 17 other species." Maya felt a sense of profound satisfaction as she listened to humanity dictate terms to the most powerful military force in the galaxy. 3 years of careful planning and patient intelligence gathering had culminated in a victory that would reshape the balance of galactic power. But Maya's personal satisfaction was tempered by the knowledge that her own role in the operation was ending. Agent Maya Chen had accomplished her mission, but the invisible custodian who had spent 3 years cleaning alien ships while gathering intelligence would disappear forever. Captain Rodriguez opened a private channel to Maya's position. "Agent Chen, you have shuttle clearance for extraction whenever you're ready. Outstanding work. The intelligence you gathered will be invaluable for our future operations." Maya looked around the maintenance area that had been her base of operations for 3 years, reflecting on the irony that the Federation's greatest defeat had been orchestrated from a janitor's closet. The aliens who had dismissed her as invisible had never realized that invisibility was the perfect cover for the most important espionage operation in human history. As Maya prepared to leave the Harmony, she activated one final program in the ship's computer systems. The virus she left behind would continue gathering intelligence and transmitting Federation military communications to human forces for months to come. The Federation would never again be able to plan operations against humanity without their enemies knowing every detail. The shuttle that retrieved Maya from the Harmony carried her to a human fleet that was already dispersing to new operations across the galaxy. Humanity's response to attempted genocide was not defensive warfare but a coordinated campaign to liberate every species that had suffered under Federation oppression. Maya Chen, the invisible woman who had cleaned alien ships while planning their downfall, was welcomed aboard the Indomitable as the architect of humanity's greatest victory. But, as she looked out at the stars through the ship's viewport, she knew that the real victory was not military, it was the proof that no oppressor could maintain control over a species that refused to accept limitations on their potential. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or numbers or even courage, it was the simple refusal to believe that any situation was hopeless, any enemy unbeatable, or any injustice permanent. The invisible woman had become visible at last, and her visibility had changed the universe forever.